What the heck is cheese? Well, you start with milk. This is from Widmer's cheese factory in Teresa, Wisconsin. The milk comes in the morning and they pour it in this big tub, and then they add some bacteria. And that gives it that kind of funky smell because it's fermenting the sugars that are in the milk, the lactose sugar. Then they add rennet. And you know about rennet. This is the enzyme that is in the fourth stomach of a newborn calf who is dead. And you remove the rennet enzymes that plunk that in as well. Although, incidentally, that's a rather expensive and cumbersome source, so almost all rennet now in most factories is a genetically modified product that's used. But at the traditional places like Widmer's, they pride themselves on still using the calf. So then it coagulates and they drain out all the whey, which is this mixture of water and lactose and some other things. And then they start to squeeze out the extra water, and then you're left with cheese. And you add some salt to the top, and what you have done with this process is taken liquid milk and made it solid. That increases the calories, concentrates the protein, increases the cholesterol and fat, and greatly increases the sodium. So, why do I get hooked on this? Why do people love this stuff? Well, I'm going to argue it's three things. People like salty things. They like fatty things. And there's something called casomorphins in the cheese. I want to tell you about all this stuff. So salt is added in quite liberal quantities as cheese is made. And that's to kill the or stop the bacteria from continuing to ferment it into mush. So they throw a lot of salt in, and that kind of makes everything stop, and it adds a flavor that people like. The greasiness everybody is aware of when you're washing your hands after eating pizza, that dairy fat is all over your fingers. And I'm going to argue that people like the combination of fatty, salty. It's why we like French fries and potato chips. But casomorphins are interesting. They are opiates. Have you heard of these? These are opiates. When I say opiates, I mean that they are in the same chemical class as heroin, or morphine, or Demerol, or any kind of narcotic painkiller. But they form as the casein protein is broken down in digestion. A typical protein is a string of beads. You look at it under a powerful microscope. There's all these little amino acid molecules joined one to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. And you swallow this, and your digestive enzymes break it apart. And the individual beads go into your blood, and your body takes them, the amino acids, and makes new protein. Except dairy doesn't work that way. The casein molecule does give you some individual amino acids, but it also gives you these little strings. This will not be on the test. These little strings of 4, 5, 7 amino acids. They are biologically active. They go from the digestive tract into the blood. They pass the blood-brain barrier. They attach to the very same brain receptors that heroin would attach to. What are they doing there? These are casomorphins, casein-derived morphine-like compounds. I am going to argue that they are there because nature does not want to leave anything to chance. Baby calf says, "Hey mom, I don't think I'm going to nurse today. I'm going to go off into the woods with my friends. I'll see you on Thursday." Or if a baby, human baby, didn't like to nurse and turned away from the breast, that baby's not going to thrive. So when the body makes milk, it puts protein into it and water and some sugars in the form of lactose, some fat, some hormones, and a little bit of feel-good. Have you ever looked at the face of a nursing baby? They are so intent, and then they collapse into this slumber. And we say, isn't the mother-infant bond a beautiful thing? You just drugged the kid. So, anyway, I am arguing that this is part of the biological substrate of the mother-infant bond. And, of course, nature said, don't worry, all mammals are weaned. You know, once you no longer need breast milk and you can eat on your own, you're not going to have milk. Humans are so creative that we figured out you never have to be weaned. And you can get casomorphins all your life in enormous quantities. And that's what it's all about. Making sense? Okay, so this is morphoceptin. This casomorphin has about 1/10 the receptor binding power of pure morphine, meaning goes to the brain, attaches, gives you a little bit of feel good. I think I'll have some more of this, okay? Now, what I have just told you is not secret. The dairy industry has known all about this, and they've done the research on it, and they want to take advantage of it. So, working with the U.S. government, the dairy industry has decided to get people hooked on cheese. I want to share with you some slides. These are not my slides. I got these from through the Freedom of Information Act from the U.S. government. In the year 2000, the U.S. government, working with Dairy Management, Inc., held something called the Cheese Forum. And they wanted to unleash an interesting plan. Can we trigger the crave? Here's what they mean. They decided you could call some people cheese cravers, and others were enhancers. The enhancers, that's a person who takes a little bit of cheese and puts it on your salad. We don't want you. A craver opens up the refrigerator door, breaks off a big chunk of cheese, and stuffs it in their mouth and piles it all over their pizza, and that person can double or triple their cheese intake depending on how you do your marketing. That's the group we want. And that's who the government, again, these are not my slides. These are U.S. government slides. This is exactly what they decided to do. So what do we want our integrated marketing program to do? We want to trigger cheese craving. How do we do that? You don't go to every little ma and pa restaurant down the block and say, would you please feature cheese? If you could get it in front of people, they might get hooked on this. That would take forever. What the government did was very smart. Fast food chains make decisions from their central headquarters, and those decisions affect every community in America, what's available. So the U.S. government made a contract with Wendy's, which I can show you if you want to see it. And they marketed something called the Wendy's Cheddar Lovers Bacon Cheeseburger, and as a government program. And it sold 2.25 million pounds of cheese just during the promotional activity. This is good. Really easy, one contract, and I am selling cheese like crazy. So they then worked with Subway, which had 2 sandwiches that didn't include cheese. They fixed that. They worked with Pizza Hut to make the ultimate cheese pizza, which has an entire pound of cheese on one serving. Burger King, Taco Bell, they put a hat on you that says, the power of cheese. And they would say, okay, when people go through the drive-thru, don't just say, welcome to Taco Bell. Say, would you like to try a quesadilla today? Use the power of suggestion at every opportunity and make sure the cheese is on every item on the menu. Now, I am going to argue, by the way, don't get paranoid. This is the way the government works. This is what they do. They are working with industry to promote American agricultural products, and the health consequences which flow from this are completely secondary in their mind. Okay, now I'm going to argue that just because something is fattening is not necessarily worrisome. Lard is fattening. I mean, it's got 9 calories in every gram. It's very, very fattening, but who wants it? People don't eat a huge amount of lard. And I'm going to argue that if something is addicting, that's not necessarily a problem. Coffee is addicting. Tea it's got caffeine, but no, that's not necessarily good, but it's not going to make you weigh 1 million pounds. But if something is fattening and addicting, like cheese, now we're talking about a major contribution to obesity.